The ABSA Off-Road Championship and fast-track yourself through the race with vehicle and asset finance from ABSA. Today, tomorrow, together. Go!
The Lesotho Sun 400, round 5 of the 2006 ABSA Off-Road Championship. The Lesotho Sun 400 proudly follows in the footsteps of the infamous Roof of Africa rally, which paved the way forward for it to become a treasured stop on the ABSA Off-Road Championship Series. Maseru and the Mountain Kingdom has always produced tight racing through some of the continent's most inhospitable terrain, and the teams, their supporters and drivers all knew the 2006 edition would be no different.
I'd like to welcome the Lesotho 400 competitors and their crews back to Lesotho. Lesotho Sun, as part of Sun International Group, is more than happy to host this event. Our involvement has grown over the years, and now this is the 5th off-road event of the year.
And that meant that most of the competitors were chasing Nissan, who had produced 3 wins out of 4 in the 06 Championship Series. The pressure was on for them to continue in that same vein, as it was in the Toyota camp to upset the status quo, even though this Japanese marque was leading the manufacturer's points battle by a relatively narrow margin of 15 points. Throughout the field, though, the challenge is firstly to finish this toughie, then to score points. Championship log leader Hannes Grobler explains.
Always a tough event, always challenging to come out here and to finish this event. It's maybe not the toughest one, but I think it's probably the roughest event on the calendar. And yeah, you must be very sharp to stay on the road and on the route. And also, I believe, yeah, it's quite wet out here, so I think it's going to be challenging.
Failure in the Ford Motorrad 400 left Nissan in the lurch a little. Definitely,
yeah. We've put a little bit of pressure on ourselves after not finishing the last event. But, you know, all our points from now on count. So, yeah, we're going to just try and stay ahead and see if we can win another few races.
So Nissan nailed their colours to the mast, but so had Ford. Neil Woolridge was only 4 points adrift of Grobler, but has won here before, albeit on 2 wheels.
Oh, look, we've had fantastic memories, yeah. The racing's changed obviously a whole lot since we last, well, for instance, 30 years ago, we used to do 1,200 or 1,100 kilometers in 3 days. Here we're only doing 350 or 400 k's. But obviously it's a lot faster. The cars, the technology's advanced. So yeah, we're racing on the 21st century kind of thing against what we used to run. And it's not a survival course anymore, we actually race, so yeah, it's good.
In the Toyota camp, Mark Cronje and his crew have put in many hours to get their Toyota into the right shape for Lesotho's big challenge.
Yeah, look, there's been quite a substantial amount of changes after the last race. The guys have put in a great effort again in the Hilux. I think the importance of finishing this event is very high on the priority list for us, and it's a very, very demanding race. We've learnt in the past, and I think it's going to be more of a 4x4 jamboree than actual race. It's about endurance.
After 4 rounds, the team efforts were paying off. In the production car championship, Grobler and Francois Jordan were just a breath ahead of Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer, while Schroeder's Ford was 23 points back in 3rd place. In the special vehicle class, the competition was even more fierce, and for reigning SA off-road champion Alfie Cox and his motorized crew, the term rough is relative.
Well, I think when we talk about a rough race, we know that the Lesotho race has always been the roughest of them all. And being in a special, I can only feel it's going to be much more comfortable, I know that. But, you know, winning it, sure, we've got to the leaderboard at the moment. We're top of the log, and but now we have to take either a cautious approach, or we have to go all out from now until the end of the year. So what's on the mind, I'm not sure at the moment, but Lesotho, I think you take each lap as it comes. I'm sure the first lap is to find where you're going. It's always very difficult in Lesotho to find where we're going, and I just think it's a race that you wait for it to come to yourself, and I always wait for the roof to come to me. I don't go to it, and it's been very successful for me over the years with motorcycle and the production last year, and now to be in a special, something different.
Different it would be, as always. For Shamir Wariyawa, it's been a different and rather frustrating season, and the Total Motorsport Porter driver had his work cut out for him.
Yeah, this year has been totally up and down for us. We raced the SP for 2 races, and then we switched from that back into the specials. And then we decided we were running a BMW motor last year on the special vehicle, so we decided to go for a real hybrid LS motor. And we fitted it the last race, and well, we just, as you know, teething problems do occur. So hopefully we've done some testing, about 100 Ks, 150 Ks with the car. Car seems to be fine. Hopefully today we will shine. The roof we finished last year, and we're hoping for a finish.
In the Roacon camp, Peter Ruthven is still all smiles after getting completely the opposite of what he was expecting to buy.
I went with Dave White to Brandon Harkes to buy Dave's new car, and I left Joburg with a bat. That's how it happened. I used to drive the Toyota 4x4, and spending a day with Brandon and Dave in the car, they've convinced me to buy Alfie's old bat, so that's how it happened. I changed from the morning, thought I'm going to do the roof in my bucky, and the afternoon going to Bloem we had a bat, so we're doing it in a bat now. It's totally a different ball game. Excellent. We had a drive last Saturday, enjoy it. So yeah, nervous about the roof, but yeah, we just want to finish and enjoy it. That's the plan. Waiting for Dave's new bat coming January next year, and hopefully then the Rubicon team will be there.
Well, that's off-roading in a nutshell for you. For the father and son team of the Cries, it's been an outstanding season, and they found themselves in the lead in Class B in their Keymax bat.
Yeah, we've had a good season. Me and my son Hendrik have enjoyed it. It's tremendous to race cars. And it's our first time on the roof in a car. We've been here a few times on the bikes, so we're looking forward to it.
Tough event. Generally, strategy for a race like this?
We believe there's lots of tongas and washouts, so you've got to be very careful. So as usual, our aim is to run safely, try and finish the race, don't damage the car, and conserve as much as possible and just get some points that way. Even if we don't win, we just want to finish it.
Yeah, but look, we were here in '99 was the last time we were here. We had a roll and we fell out of the roof. So since then, I've actually promised myself not to come back. But now that we're lying second in the championship, we have to come back. And from what we've heard everywhere is we've got to just take it easy and just finish this race, then you'll probably get quite a good position.
At the top of the special vehicle category, Alfie Cox entertained thoughts of another win. He and defending Class A champ Terence Marsh were tied at the top on 53 points apiece.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to get you financed.
Do you watch for the live events to be part of the live crowd right till the end? Or to support your favorite team, be part of the Mexican waiting screen? Do you watch when it's going dry before the ride? Do you go in wild, trying to keep up all the while? The racing is too fast for your eyes. Do you watch for the record breakers, majors and the big name makers? Do you watch for the Tigers of golf? Do you watch till you cry cause they lost? Do you watch for the win some, lose some? Do you watch for the inspiration? Do you watch for the getting goosebumps cause the competition is gruesome? Do you watch for the adrenaline? You're hoping the better man better win. Do you watch till you feel the heat, the thrill of victory, agony of defeat? Do you watch for the fashion statements, for the trends or the chat and make friends? Do you watch for the beautiful people with sex appeal that no one can equal? Do you watch for the beautiful people? Do you watch for the beautiful people? Do you watch for the beautiful people? People. Whoever you are, whatever your reason, super sports for everyone. Do you watch?
For me, as a young guy, I've always wanted to run out of that tunnel.
This is Joburg, man. The real Joburg. This is the pulse. This is where things happen.
You have time to pull out. Contact me or forever hold your pieces.
Get behind your team. The ABSA Curry Cup. My passion, my province, my game. Proudly brought to you by ABSA. Today, tomorrow, together.
Formula One. It's the ultimate in sport. Watch it for the engineering. Watch it for the sheer style. Watch it because you could win big. 8 stylish Fiats are up for grabs. Watch the Grand Prix, wait for the question, accelerate away in your Punto. F1, it's exclusive to Supersport. Fiat, begin a new game.
Can the Proteas ruffle some red feathers in their first ODI of the season?
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
Go! The prologue start was just off the Masiru bypass with a finish at Matseng, a challenging 40 kilometers away. The prologue determines the start position for the next day's racing proper and is all important, especially for those drivers who don't like dust. For the Motorite lads, SA champ Evan Hutchison and Achim Bergman, it was a fast start on their way to a spectacular show of team strength and speed. Ralph Pitchford and driver Duncan Foss were fifth on the championship log and needed a good result. While Woolridge and Schulthammer, who were both victorious here on motorbikes in the past, had to try to get one over Grobler. Seemingly, some pit crews had equipment and transport problems early on. But the biggest problem would be the unseasonal rain, which left treacherous and muddy parts on the route. Nevertheless, the Motorite boys were going at it hammer and tongs. Hutchison won Class B in 2005, and he was hoping to repeat that feat in Class A this year. Sometimes you wonder just how do they do it. Motorite teammates Alfie Cox and Henny Terstegen, also in a bat, were equally impressive, and it was clear Alfie just loves the Lesotho countryside. The third Motorite bat was being piloted by Brandon Harkis. He won the first race of the season in Darling, and he too was hoping to repeat what he did in the Western Cape. The Rapsa bat of Nodis Alberts and Colin Hunter was covered with mud in just the first few Ks, but that did just not stop them from blazing along. Normally, Gary Bertolt and Henry Castaigne's Atlas Copco is yellow. With so much mud this time, you couldn't tell. At least the guy in the orange shirt enjoyed it. The terrain on the Lesotho Highlands is challenging to say the least, and you just have to take a look at how hard the car's suspension and shock absorbers work here to crest this hill. Marsh working very hard. And to top that off, the dust in between the lower regions where the mud was lying in wait was thick and made navigating very difficult. In car with Foss and Pitchford, it was clear that the drivers and their co's would be pushed to the limit, as would some of the fence posts on the route. Up front of him, he was catching Hannes Grobler, who had wrong slotted, so the pole didn't stand a chance. One of only 4 drivers out there flying solo was Colin Matthews, who was flying along the fastest early on in the prologue. For Mark Cronje, Chris Birkin, his nav is a calming influence. Let's listen in and find out why.
And left again. The right 3 coming up in 200. You go out of here.
Impressive, and so was Variawa, with his co-driver VZ van Sail, who were 8th fastest through the checkpoint in the special vehicle class. Mark Corbett and Jean Moore have enjoyed their time in the new Nissan Navara in the Century Properties livery, and after a fine podium place in Limpopo, they were the 3rd quickest of the production cars and were 3rd in the SP class.
1.5 kilometers straight ahead.
The hills and normally rustic farms of the Lesotho countryside were reverberating to the sound of high-tech deep-voiced engines, such as the SP Class Ford of Woolridge and Schulthammer, who were just a minute or so off the lead pace in class. Still, life goes on, shower or no shower. Archie Rutherford and Craig Doubtfire and their Nashua Mobile race car were going well until they turned soft left instead of hard left. Oh, that left, you meant. John Weir-Smith and Jeff Millett in the Kopanang Hotel Gymco and their first event of the season were just outside of the top 10 in the special vehicle class and were giving a good account of themselves. While Richard Schilling seemed determined to give our cameraman a mud pack. In Class E, the leader Schroeder and his co-driver Ward Huxtable were working things over in their own quiet way. Yet they were feeling the pinch of a tough route. For the special vehicles, it was a lot easier on the car and on the inhabitants' bodies. Gil Nel and Johan Smallberger in their Bozel Truggy Zarko were just inside the top 10 in Class B. But listen to that engine taking stick in the mud. And it was the case throughout the field. The Tyco Trucks outfit with Chris Visser and Jaapie Barnhorst in the Toyota Hilux were the Class D championship leaders and also leading the category out on the road, or rather, off the road. The Weichelts in their Bozel Toyota Hilux were second in the class, only 16 seconds back and pushing hard. This mud was tough to negotiate. Here's how to do the unplanned donut maneuver. And how to lose a place in the process. Douwe de Boer and actor Ben Creo were the beneficiaries of that little ballet, with Peter Ruthven doing the dancing. Luckily, he did get his own back. Looking remarkably clean, the Bozel Toyota Hilux with Mark and Stuart Moffat aboard was coasting along to a prologue win in Class E in 52 minutes exactly. But the man who stopped the clocks the fastest in the production vehicle class was Foss and Pitchford in the proudly South African Nissan Navara, who were exactly 10 ticks better than Cronje and Birkin in the Castrol Toyota. Corbett and Moore were a further 6 seconds adrift. In the special vehicle class, it was a clean sweep for Brandon Hawkes and Alex Sally, Hutchison and Bergman, Cox and Tersteege, making it a 1-2-3 for Motorride. What's more, the special vehicles were more than 2.5 minutes faster than the production vehicles. It was tough out there.
It's always tough in Lesotho. There's not a place for soft people here, or soft cars. It's going to be a great race tomorrow. It's pretty similar to last year, which I finished second last year by whiskers. I'm prepared and ready to do battle with my teammates first of all in the morning.
The racing in the Motorride squad has been very tight all season.
Well, the whole year we've all been breathing down each other's necks, and it's good for our team. You know, we spur each other on, and you know, you go away between races really thinking about how you're going to come out on top with these other two guys. But
what about team orders?
No, there's no team orders, not yet.
Just get out there. And
yeah, although we're in a team, we push hard, and you know, if one guy does well, we're happy for him.
For the Ford Cup, it was a tough day at the office.
Yeah, today was difficult. It was rough. But it's in the lowlands, so there's a lot of washaways. The rain that we've had, it made it quite rough. So, you know, we just drive accordingly. I mean, you know, the vehicles can do everything. You just the speed that you're going to traverse the terrain. So we'll look after it, which we did today. And tomorrow we'll see if we've got to pick the pace up. Fortunately, it's 3 laps, so we can be in touch all the time and actually see how the race is panning out. And we'll just make our judgment from there.
Naim Mosaji and Rayhan Badiana employed some new staff on the TTR racing team. While other teams furiously set about repairing, replacing and generally everything. The prologue may only have been 40 k's long, but it was a big ask to go fast and not break the vehicle at the same time. For Cronje in the Toyota, there was a little bit of everything, and it was a precursor for more of the same.
Our route was very, very tough. A lot of holes, ditches, a lot of standing water, an exceptional amount of mud. So, yeah, it's a very tricky route. I think tomorrow's going to be tough.
For Hannes Grobler, it was a lowly prologue finish of 21st overall and 5th in the production car class. He was 3 minutes off the pace set by teammate Vos.
We started first and it wasn't easy to find the route. Some of the markers were like old markers from last year. It looks like we've done the same prologue as last year. And we battled a little bit to find our route through the rivers and all the flayers. So, you know, it wasn't easy and, you know, there was no marks in front of us. And we went a little bit wrong at one place. We lost a bit of time, but we took it easy. You know, it was very rough. You tend to forget how rough this roof, basically, as I called it, is. And tomorrow is a long day, and I think some of the guys maybe went too fast today in the rough. You know, we'll see tomorrow what happens.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, overcoming all obstacles.
Big is relative. Big is a question of scale. Big is a paradigm shift. And when Supersport's got 19 live events, it's massive. On Saturday, World Cup Athletics, Sharks vs Bulls, Barrera vs Juarez. On Sunday, Proteas take on Zimbabwe, Chelsea vs Liverpool, and a men's World Cup hockey final. Big is a way of life on Supersport.
Every swing has a story. Every putt has a par. Every choice has a calculation. Get inside the game with Super Golf, Supersport's hit South African golf show, bringing you in-depth discussions, professional tips, and current news from around the globe. Thursday nights at 9:30, hosted by Dale Hayes, proudly sponsored by Fujitsu Siemens Computers and Telkom Business.
Toughest parts is when you come out of these really dark tunnels. All right, this first trick, a cat-nack Indian air, and you almost crash. It's a holy grab. The backflip no-hander, very, very technical trick. Ooh, if it goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong. The judges like that. And then you die. If it goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong. Trust me, I hate that.
Words fail. The world's most extreme motocross event, the Red Bull X Fighters, live on the 14th of September, only on your Channel of Champions. Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile to get you financed. Go!
Day 2 of the Lesotho Sun 400 and a tough day ahead in the 5th leg of the ABSA Off-Road Championship Series. As the start-finish compound started waking up, they knew that they would have to face 3 very tiring laps of more than 100 k's at a time, and the prologue route was just a foretaste of what was to come. While the sun touched the mountaintops, we wanted to know from overnight leader Duncan Vos how tough it was to find the route.
No, it's not a problem. You know, Ralphie knows how to navigate and find the route very easily. So, no, it's not a problem. It's actually, I would think, in today's conditions, an advantage starting in the front of the production cars.
And once you'd set up your stall, did it necessarily mean that you had to stick to a plan?
Yeah, we're not unhappy with the position yesterday. We pushed quite hard in the first section. I think we were very quick. In the last 20 k's, we just didn't read the rocks quite well, and we got hooked up with another car, and the mud was quite bad and very, very rough in the last section. So, yeah, we're very, very close. The production cars, we're all a couple of seconds apart. So, not unhappy with being fourth. Maybe other guys can show us some of the mud holes. I don't know, but just looking this morning coming out, it's very, very wet. There's mud everywhere, so I think it's going to be a long day and a hard day.
Chris Visser, meanwhile, had one idea: to stay ahead.
Yeah, we just tried to stay in front. We head in Class D, so but it was very difficult yesterday for the bakkies, production vehicles. Yes, the terrain was very, very rough. But today we'll try to just be in front and stay in front.
What was a problem for the teams was how to read the lie of the land.
Yeah, it was very rough. You couldn't really read the terrain, so it was difficult to, you know, how fast you must go or how fast other guys are going. So it was very difficult. But I don't know, I don't think we can do that pace the whole of today. We'll have to slow down today, I'm sure.
The Lesotho monarch, King Letsie II, came out to wish the drivers well, but pole sitter Brandon Harkis was working to a preset plan.
Yeah, I wanted to be on pole. I've prepared hard, done a lot of changes to the car. I wanted to be out front. With it being only 100 kilometers, it's virtually just 2 time trials, so I think we're going to be going full speed again for the first lap, and then just take heed what's going on from there. Obviously I got my teammates right behind me and a lot of other hungry guys, but you know, this is a tough place and you got to keep your head. It's generally the man who wins here is the man who makes the least mistakes, and so concentration levels are going to have to be at the ultimate today.
Meanwhile, Noudis Alberts enjoyed the pressure being off.
Oh, we had a good run yesterday. It was fast. The competition is all up there. We something like half a minute behind the first guy. But what is good in my case is that the guy behind me is quite a bit behind. I don't mind chasing, but I'm not always keen on having someone close by. So, but we'll see. Like I said yesterday, we've done this quite a few times. The roof is one of the toughest. Not that it is a roof, but the terrain is one of the toughest. So I don't believe all the cars that started today will finish.
For the monarchy in Lesotho, this race means a lot to the country, its economy and its public relations.
Well, it means a great deal. It's become a tradition now to have this race annually in Lesotho, and it's a tradition which we hope to maintain and nurture. And we hope that it will bring, you know, the needed attention to Lesotho, and particularly to my village here in Matsieng.
Harkis was first off with a 23-second advantage over Hutchison, who ended up taking a few extra to get going. While Cox and Ter Stegen certainly weren't waiting around. Alberts was a further 4 seconds back. With photographers scrambling for position, the drivers and nabs were following suit. But Harkis was in a fighting mood and let her rip. Hutchison and Bergman, only 13 points behind in the special vehicle fight for supremacy, gave it their all too. While their motorized teammate and log leader Alfie Cox and his co-Henny Ter Stegen were also not taking any prisoners. Alberts and Hunter and the Raps are back with 4th fastest in the prologue, and they took that form with them on the first lap of 100 kilometers. Ford Motorite Limpopo 400 winner Gary Bertolt and Henry Kirstein and the Yellow Atlas Copco Porter were 5th quickest, and they also just picked up where they left off. But there were many obstacles to overcome before the line, not least of all some truly inhospitable countryside. Marsh and Whitehouse in the National Mobile Bat were ultra consistent as always and were aiming for their 5th finish of the season. The first of the production vehicles finally made its appearance, and Foss and Pitchford in the proudly South African Nissan Navara led the way in this category. Variawa made a splash and set out for his finish. While the Castrol Toyota crew of Grenier and Birken, after being 9th overall, were already moving up the batting order. Corbett and Moore were trying to continue their fine driving from the Limpopo race. Weir Smith and Millett were just inside the top 15. In car with the Century Properties team, it looked tough out there, and the special vehicles were without any doubt faster on this exacting route.
Keep left sharp.
As Weir Smith proved by powering past. The by-accident single-seater with Colin Matthews was being pursued by Fords Woolridge and Schothammer in an all-out dice. It's not really a single-seater. His navigator didn't quite make it to the event. And the Nashua Mobile Racing Raceco of Rutherford and Doubtfire had picked up a few places, with Will Battershill and Reg Sutton chasing them down. Clint Gibson and Mike Brown in the Absolute Bat had also done some moving up, and they were making a big impression. Gibson is earning a reputation as a good and hard driver out there. But halfway through lap 1, it was clear that this tough mixture of very wet and muddy patches and then extreme dry parts higher up would take its toll. Already several teams had either been forced to slow down or to drop out. And throughout it all, there were some really big dices starting to appear. Hannes Grobler and his navigator Francois Jordan were supplying one of those dices. They were pounding the pedal to the metal and flying up the order after starting 21st off the line. Another team that shot up was the pairing of Ernest Corbett and Warwick Goosen in their Century Property Development Bat. They'd started as the leading Class B car, but in 22nd place overall, they were also motoring. The father and son combination, the Cries, were next in the Keymax Property Development Bat, but they were having problems with the right rear hub, which hampered them a little. The Tyco Trucks entry in Class D with Chris Visser at the wheel appeared next, and he and co-driver Jaapie Baardhorst were leading in class despite an early puncture. They were fiercely pursued by the SP class car of Rob Gurney and Graham Steinbach, who had steering problems due to some mud that had crept in where it wasn't needed. The Weichholts were putting together a fine first lap on the way to the designated service point, but disaster was awaiting them. What was clear was that the special vehicles were without doubt faster because the terrain was so rough and tough and needed all the extra suspension that these cars provide over the extremely rough terrain. Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux were in good form in their Toyota Hilux after starting 35th but second in Class E to the Moffats. And that's what a belly-up special vehicle looks like. But with a little help from our friends, we can get back on our feet again. Karl-Heinz Silwalt and his co-driver Mannekes Halberg were the ones who got it wrong and had to wave the rest through.
Ons het probeer om die waterplas te mis in die ryvlak. En toe het ons van die pad afgegaan aan die regterkant en goed gegaan tot op 'n stadium tot 'n walletjie ons gegooi het. En ek het definitief 'n fout gemaak deur nie weer regs om te draai nie, maar teen die wal te probeer opgaan. En natuurlik toe swaai hy my om en toe lê ons op ons dak. Gelukkig niks seer gekry nie, ons het 'n bietjie skade op die kar. Maar dis die roof. Dit is hoe dit gaan op off-road race.
Indeed, and that was that for the Zarco Magnum and its passengers. Maybe next year. As for Hutchison and Bergman, they were furiously nailing competitors ahead of them, teammates or not. The bat of Alberts and Hunter was always near the lead and was a reminder to the big-name teams that they were a force to be reckoned with. While the same applied to Gary Berthold and Henry Costain in Class A. Unfortunately for them, though, they broke their back right hub just before DSP, and that was that for them. Voss and Pitchford, both former national champions, had put together a solid first leg and were flowing along well, and holding on to a rather tenuous lead. As for Corbett and Moore, they took a slightly faster line, and voila, they got rid of one or two more of the competitors. Marsh and Whitehouse in the Nashua Mobile Bat found the first lap tough going, and the mud certainly hampered them. Variawa, on the other hand, was reveling in it and making the total porter work for its money. Three-time national champ Grobler in his trusty Nissan Navara SP had the bit between his teeth, and he moved up considerably, piling on the pressure, and after the first 80 Ks, he'd moved into the top 10. The big Ford Ranger of Woolwich and Shothammer had by the end of lap 1 started eating up lost ground, and after starting 12th, they were heading for a quick time at DSP. The mud had got pretty treacherous, and most of the teams were more than happy to go around, but that carried its own inherent dangers. Unexpected rocks and holes could mean the beginning of the end. Cronje and Birkin were in full flight, heading for a change of strategy, and already up into the top 5, while Corbett Senior and Goosen were themselves nailing some big scalps, but only leading Class B by a minute. Looking a little blind in one eye, the Weichholtz Toyota Hilux sounded better than it looked. And there was a lot of mud out there. Three-time winner of the Old Roof of Africa, Richard Schilling, was again reveling in the conditions. It seems the tougher they are, the better he and co-driver Chris Davies go. However, they would have some heartbreak a little later. The Barkhuisens, the husband and wife team of George and Sharon in the Rubicon Hilux, were also going smoothly after getting stuck in the mud during the prologue. Back at DSP after the first 100-odd Ks of racing, it was Cox and Ter Steege who had taken the lead, finishing a scant 33 seconds ahead of their stablemates, Evan Hutchison and Akim Bergman. Alberts and Hunter were next, improving by 1 place, and they were full of the joys of spring.
What happened to that porter? Dis nou maar lekker game die jong.
Harkus was next, and the first 5 places were taken by the special vehicles, just proving that the terrain favoured the cars with so much more suspension. Harkus, though, was 5 minutes down, but a happy camper under the circumstances, even after they'd had a flat.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know why we got a flat. I think we had a slow puncture. And yeah, but anyway, still 200 Ks to go. It's not ideal, but I have to really push hard to catch my boys here.
Conditions out on the route?
Yeah, they're easy, man. They're just rough, but easy.
So the tyres got back on, and as they say in the classic, JFIC, just for in case. The Total Motorsport crew looked happy. They were in with the 4th fastest time after leg 1 and right in contention. The first production car home was that of Mark Corbett and Jean Moore, who has improved dramatically after taking delivery of their brand new Century Property Development Nissan Navara. And a crew has to do what a crew has to do. Nissan camp, there was joy as Foss and Pitchford clocked the second fastest time for the SP class, and manager Glenn Hall was on hand to take charge. What would it take to win? We wanted to know from Ralph.
Just carry on doing what we've done up until now, keep the car together, stay on the road, because the mud holes are really slippery now, and the problem is if you get stuck, you've got a big problem. So, yeah, we're just taking one step at a time.
They were giant leaps, actually, but the Nissan team were even happier when Grobler and Jordan were the next to appear. They'd made up 13 places and were flying along. It was a good first lap for the men in the red cars. The Ford boys, Woolridge and Schulthammer, had lost some ground, but the Ranger was holding up well. They complained about the dust, though. The Cronje-Birkin combination seemed to be on track for a good finish. They were 13th overall and 5th in class, but that needed a rethink.
Yeah, we've just adopted an endurance strategy, so we're just keeping it clean and tidy. We've got another 2 laps to go, and it's rough. So, yeah, for us it's just to get it to finish, and I'm pretty sure we'll do okay.
The Cries had had some serious trouble with the back right hub, and it affected the car's handling.
Yeah, it looks like the back hub has come loose at the moment, so we're just, you know, trying to fix it quickly. Yeah.
Chances of getting back out?
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see, eh? We hope so. Let's hope so.
They did indeed make it out for lap 2. The Weicherts were looking good and were ready to do battle on lap 2. Meanwhile, Corbett and Moore went out but returned after losing their power steering soon after. A case of back to the drawing board, I'm afraid, lads. The Lesotho Sun 400 continues right after this.
Vehicle and asset finance from Absa, going off the beaten track to find solutions.
And took the ball and put it very close to the cup and knocked it in. I thought Bob Hope was going to pass out. All of us just got such a big laugh.
Thanks to him, my dad is here, who gave me the name. Now I'm going to take it and do good with it.
Tiger had broken 50 for 9 holes at the age of 3.
I never thought I had the talent, but I thought my biggest edge is I wanted to beat you. There are many putts or many shots where I don't remember hitting. It's a weird thing. You know, who is the best amateur? Whether it was Nicholas or whether it was Bobby Jones, whether it was myself or whomever it might be. As long as you're in that conversation, you've done all right.
I knew he was going to be the best in the world. It's just gut feeling. I knew he had it.
Vir my het die keerpunt gekom toe die een span meer punte gekry het as die ander span. Want jy weet, in my boek kan die een span nie wen as die ander span meer punte het nie.
En nou, vir manne wat weet waarvan hulle praat. Kom kuier elke maandag aan saam wanneer 3 rugby-legendes Suid-Afrikaanse rugby oopvlek en hulle ingeligte menings verskaf. Vodacom Super Rugby. Maandag aande 8:30 op Capenet. Vodacom, die grootste ondersteuner van Suid-Afrikaanse ondersteuners. Vehicle and asset finance from Absa, overcoming all obstacles.
Go! The Lesotho Sun 400 continues, and after mud, dust, dongers and destruction, there was a whole lot more to come. Just after halfway, and already more than 20% of the competitors had to drop out. The Motorite crew, with no less than 3 cars in the top 5, looked like the outright favourites for the overall title and the special vehicle win too. The meat in the Motorite sandwich was the Rapsa bat of Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter, who were both making merry. Defending SA champion Martian Whitehouse was still going along on their consistent merry way, but for the first time this season, they would not reach the finish line due to a faulty gearbox. Woolridge and Schulthammer in the Ford were on a search and destroy mission, and they had firmly moved into the top 10. Battershill and Reg Sutton in their Jimco had in their own quiet way worked their car into a top 10 spot after starting in 16th place after the prologue. A fine drive. of the other drives of the day went to Marc Grenier, who under the skillful pointing of Chris Birkin pulled up into the 8th place. The Castrol Toyota sounded great. But one of the performances of the day came from Hannes Grobler. The irrepressible man from Pretoria was in an ebullient mood as he piloted the proudly South African Nissan Navara past friend and foe on his way to a very fast second lap clocking. Ernest Corbett, another veteran of the sport, was having his best showing of the year, with son-in-law and navigator Warwick Goosen doing a fine job himself. They were 22nd after the prologue, but now they were up into the 12th place. The Weichholz, Cliff and Louis in their Bosel Toyota Hilux were themselves going well and were leading Class D, but only by a scant 4-minute margin. In Class E, the Moffats were controlling things, but again, as it was throughout the field, the time gap was only 10 minutes, and in off-roading, that's not a lot. Bevan Bertolt and Oki Fourie, standing in for the injured Robin Houghton in their Castrol Toyota, had overheating problems and, like your commentator, ran out of fans, but they kept plugging away. The absolute bat of Glenn Gibson, another single-seater, was leading in the S-Class, but he also only had 12 minutes to spare. That was over Nick Gosler and Gerard Niemand in the Kopenhagen Hotel Raceco. Back at DSP for the second time, the Ford pit crew was stretched to the limit with a broken back droop strap. But it did not, according to their own calculations, cost them much time at all.
No, it's not it's just one of the check straps is broken on the back suspension, just limiting the travel. So we're just replacing it, but the part that we got there, I don't think is, it's maybe a little bit long. It's from the old T-car.
On to the third and final lap over just more than 100 kilometers, and with 58 starters having set off, there were still 46 left, but the attrition rate would climb. But no one bothered to tell the Motorride team this. Cox was charging along like a bull in a china shop, while his teammates Hutchison and Bergman were also going ape. The only man who kept up was Nardus Alberts. The burly Rapsa driver matched them virtually step for step. But in these conditions, one slightly wrong move and you're stuck. This was the Motorride bat of Brandon Harkis, who saw his winning chances slide away in the mud. At the sharp edge of the production car field, Grobler and Jordan were doing what has become their trademark move in 2006, a storming run in the last 100 Ks. They blitzed past Marc Grenier there, who had to stop to repair a puncture, and that took them into the lead. The good-heartedness of Fabio Tafani in the Toyota eventually got Harkis out of trouble, but it cost him enough time to scuttle his winning opportunity. Meanwhile, Grenier was soldiering on in second place, and he and Birkin were impressive to say the least. The very self-same ridge that caught Harkis nabbed a few others too, and while this was playing out, it gave other competitors a clue as to where not to go. Grenier blazing along, but he would rue that puncture for quite a while. Lots of cars blazing by. One of them that went by so quickly was Schulthammer and Woolridge's Ford. The back droop straps that had to be replaced had indeed proved to be a problem, and they lost some time doing that. They were back into third place in class. Grenier was first out on the road out of DSP, but that puncture put him in second. Ford was up third after repairing that strap, but they were taking the safe approach. For the absolute bat of Clint Gibson and Mike Brown, there was a big move. They were 5th in Class A. Well, Battershill and Reg Sutton were up into 6th place, and they had also done some giant killing. And in Class B, Corbett and Goosen were truly in a class of their own. They'd overtaken a fistful of cars on their way to a big win and an hour over their nearest rivals. Looking slightly worse for wear and treading rather gingerly across the mud, Bevan Berthold and Okkie Faria gently squeezed into 4th place in class after an outstanding 3rd lap. But the Harpers, Nick and son Ryan, made the same mistake that a few of their predecessors had made, and guess what? Victim number 120. A mistake from Voss at the end of lap 2 meant that he got stuck, and even though his teammate Grobler stopped and wanted to help, he also stood the risk of getting stuck. So Voss waved him on from just outside the lead to 5th in one foul swoop. For the Moffats, there was a class win waiting, and they rode a well-judged race to get to the line after 8 hours and 10 minutes in 7th place overall. The Tyco Trucks team of Visser and Baardnorst in the Toyota filled 8th place after a clean last 100k run. As for Yuri and Andre Duplessis and the BB Auto Nissan, they also had a good last lap and had to settle for 9th place. We know it's hard to tell, but that there is Bez Besaidnout. He had a good clean run and finished 2nd in Class B, despite all the mud, that is. Nick Gosler and Gerard Niemand surprised all and sundry with a very steady drive in the small race go, and they took a well-deserved 13th place and 1st in Class S. Sometimes you have to be tough, and none more so than Marius van Vieren and Johan Coetzee, who held on to the finish line despite some severe power steering problems. Schilling had his own dramas, with Thomas Rundle in the Barton Tyre Services Nissan his knight in shining armour. Their alternator had packed up, and that was that. And on to the finish line. Brian Martin and Henny Vosloo took 2nd in Class E, the 11th production car to get to the finish line. And at that finish line, a proud, delighted and relieved motorride crew awaited an ecstatic Alfie Cox and co-driver Henny Tersteger, who only took the lead after his navigator did some fine work. But he had less than a minute to spare. In fact, a scant 52 clicks of the clock. And the black and silver outfit could celebrate again, as it was Evan Hutchison and Hakim Bergman who brought their bat home next, a 1-2 for Motorride. Their joy knew no bounds, and Cox, who has won here in a production car, on 2 wheels and now also in a special, very, very happy. And so he should be. Go! A close finish at the top, but keep in mind only 15 of the original entry of 34 cars made it to the finish line. A real race of attrition, and it meant that almost 50% of the cars out there got to the line. A fine rate in a race that is so tough. Cox was delighted and loved all the tight racing.
Yeah, look, it's been pressure all day. I mean, we started in 3rd this morning, but Henny made an absolute fantastic job of the navigation, and Brandon and Evan took a wrong turn in one of the villages. We got in the lead, and we had the dust to our advantage, and I thought, you know, I've got to keep the dust, keep them in the back, but Evan has not given up the whole day. I mean, he got within touching my bumper, about 30 k's from home, and I thought, no way, I'm not giving him the win, and back down the hammer again, and but these cars are just like a bat out of hell, if you could say that.
Yes, you can, Alfie. In the production car class, a magnificent come-from-behind win went to Hannes Grobler and Francois Jordan, who only took the lead after Cronje and Birken had suffered that puncture with the line virtually within eyeshot. The closest finish of the season with less than 7 minutes, separating the top three, and Cronje will be wondering about that puncture for a while to go. Go! Grobler, as always, was magnanimous in victory and praised his trusty Nissan.
Very good feeling. You know, we thought yesterday we were going a little bit slow maybe, and we started 20th this morning, and we just kept our pace, you know, and we tried to keep the car in one piece, and we got to the end and it paid off.
Second place went to Cronje, who was nonetheless happy with his finish, and a change in strategy eventually worked for them.
Mark, you finally got a result.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Toyota have done a great job on the vehicle. I mean, they've really worked hard for this event. And yeah, we came out with a strategy to try and get it to the end, and it's paid off in our favour because the bakkie was really strong that last lap, so I could really push a little bit. We actually we led for a while, and then we unfortunately got a puncture, and yeah, then Hannes got past us, and then we decided we'll just get it to the end.
The Ford Ranger of Woolwich and Schothammer appeared next, and they were happy with the third place, which kept them in the points.
Yeah, it was a tough race, good race, quite a frustrating race because we came into the start of the last lap with a, I wouldn't say a nice lead, but we had a couple of minutes lead, and in the pits we noticed that one of the suspension straps that holds the back suspension together had broken, so we could have taken a chance and left it, but we decided to err on the side of safety and rather changed it, so we lost the lead there, and then the last lap we just battled a bit, went into too fast into one of the dongas and bent something on the front steering, and then I think put us off a bit, and then we've had a brake problem, so we kind of like had to settle for third, unfortunately, because I think we could have made it today. We could have won.
In the manufacturers' battle, Toyota lead Nissan by 14 points, and in Class B, it was Ernest Corbett all the way.
Look, it went well. It went very well. We led from the start, which is always very beneficial. You know when to pass. We had 2 punches, but the car was unbelievable. And, well, I did all right.
The Moffats took a popular win in Class E.
Very hard. You can see what it looks like. No, it was, enjoyed it. It was magic. Brought it home first, and it's the first for us. So it's a good day at the office. We enjoyed it. The route was marked well. It was rough. It was wet. Just, you can see what the vehicles look like, but it was enjoyable.
The points, and Grobler stretched his lead to 14 with 2 races to go. The Ford boys will have to win at least one of them to keep the pressure squarely on the Nissan driver. While the special vehicle class sees Cox and Tersteger leading by 19 points. One more top 3 place and Alfie may just call himself the champion again. Until next time you keep it on the road, we'll keep it off-road.